Hey everyone, it's Dominic the Primetime Treasure Hunter. Thanks for coming by to check out another video. It's about 7:20 in the morning. I'm heading off to my favorite type of estate sale. It's called a picker's estate sale. That means they're so overwhelmed with stuff that they couldn't even go through it, put prices on it, and so it's kind of a dig for treasure type of thing. It literally says that in the ad. I've been to this person's treasure picking estate sales before and I've done very well, so I'm really looking forward to it. That's about the only thing that will get me to drive about 45 minutes away to where this is. Now, if I look a little tired, that's because, again, it's early in the morning. I'm going off about 4 hours sleep. I didn't plan to have this little sleep. I actually planned to go to bed a little bit earlier because I knew I had to wake up pretty early for today. And I made, and I'm going to do a separate video about this, but I made my best sale of all time last night. A single comic book, Giant X-Men #1 for $1,250. So, you know, I'm just kind of riding that emotional roller coaster, and it's definitely on a high point right now. Last week, it was on a low point. So it just goes to show, if you go to my last video, which I talked about all those emotional ups and downs, you have to keep yourself going and you'll find success. So speaking of finding treasures, let's head off to that Picker's estate sale and see what we can find. Okay, so we are here. As you can see, it is a big barn, a nice red barn that we're going to go picking in. I'm really excited about this. There's a posted sign on the tree, which means they normally don't want people anywhere around here. So that is great. Going to tell you a couple things before I head in there. Okay, so this is one of these good news, bad news situations. The bad news is that this sale started yesterday on a Friday from 8 to 2. Now, I couldn't go to that because I had my regular full-time job that I had to be at. The good news, though, is that it is absolutely beautiful weather this week, and it is the state fair week. And so a lot of people were over there. They're breaking attendance records there all the time. So there were a lot of people over there yesterday. I was there last night, had a fun time, and there's going to be a ton of people there today. That's why I see no cars parked outside of here right now, which is a great sign for me because that means I'm not going to have any competition or very little once I head in there and check out that barn. A couple things that took with me today, just in case, that I wanted to pass on to you. I don't know how long I'm going to be in there because it's a pretty big barn. Number one would be, make sure you have an extra power supply. If your phone runs out and you can't check comps, that could really screw you up. So make sure you take something like this. I'll put the link to the one I use down in the description section. It's an Amazon affiliate link. This right here is made by a company called Boni. I've researched all these. This is really one of the better models to get. It'll charge your phone up like several times with this having one full charge. You just turn it on like this. It's a little button right here, and it will show you these little blue dots that will tell you it's fully powered up. So all you do is you just take it here, you just plug this little part right there, and then this goes right into your phone and you're all set. So it's really easy to carry around. The other thing I like to take with me is my checkbook. So if you have a business checkbook or a personal checkbook, that could be really helpful because you never know. You don't want to carry a ton of cash around with you, and you don't know if you're going to find something that's going to exceed the amount of cash that you have. And if you're in an area that's 45 minutes away, like I am, from your home base, then you don't know where the nearest bank is necessarily all the time. So it's good to have a checkbook with you. Not all estate sale dealers will take checkbooks. I know that this one does. So it's just something handy to make sure you have. So we're going to go in, get ready, start hunting in that barn. As you can see, this is very unusual if you've been watching my haul videos. Normally, this is packed with cars. I mean, there's just nothing here. No cars. We just had a John Deere go by. So we are in central New York, not New York City. That's why you're going to see this type of landscape. But there's just nothing here. No cars. I'm by myself. It's crazy. And I brought 2 boxes just in case. You never know if you're going to need an extra box in a situation like this. So I got 2 big boxes. I got a smaller one nestled in here. I got my little bag of tools. It's time to head down that trail to that barn. And you are about to see me go walk into a barn full of treasures. How do I know? Because I just came out of there, and I want to give you a heads up. you are going to see some really, really cool things. This is a great way to learn, but it's going to be a visually oriented video from this point until I head back to Primetime Treasure headquarters. That's because for the majority of the time that I was in that barn, it was just me and the estate sale dealer. There were a few times where some people came in, but then they were standing right next to me and looking at the same types of items, so I did not want to cue them into the value. We'll talk about this later, so just go check this out. You'll see me give some thumbs up. Sometimes I'll give a little animated or extra thumbs up, which means I'm like super excited about the item, and we'll talk more about them once I get back to Primetime Treasure headquarters. So enjoy what you are about to see. Don't know what you're gonna find when you walk around that corner and head into that barn. I mean, you could see this is a big barn. I mean, it is huge. So really excited to see what's in here. So I'm really interested in this one, this Panasonic. This is a vintage model right here. The problem is it takes D batteries. I have 4 of them, but this takes 6. So I carry an adapter around with me, and we're gonna plug this in and see if it works with the adapter. That is a lot of posters.
Certainly is.
Yeah.
It does. It does. Well, yeah, and I have
Everyone, this has been insane so far. I still have all this to go through. I just couldn't say much because I have a whole bunch of people standing around me before, but this is just crazy. There are thousands of dollars worth of posters here. It's crazy. This is just crazy. I cannot get over this. It's amazing. It's insane. What a day this is going to be. Another vintage 1983 Star Wars poster. Unreal. And here we go again. This is just, look at this. Oh my God. Oh man, what a day. Looks like this one is even older. This one here, we got 1977 from the official Star Wars fan club. Looks like we have another one here. Look at this. I can't. Something like this, folks. Don't even care about the rip. This is vintage Vader. We are dealing with 1977 here, folks. Notice, no one else is here. I'm the only one standing because everyone left and gave up. But if you stick with it, you have patience, you start taking the posters out of these rolls, which everyone is too lazy to do, then if you do that, you're gonna get something like this. Eventually, if you stick with it. It just doesn't stop. It just doesn't stop. Don't even worry about this stuff. Oh my goodness. It's a cool Death Star one. Here we go. There's another one. Han Solo, Princess Leia. Very nice. $19.80. Yet another classic. Right here. Return to Jedi. 1983. No one's here. It's amazing.
Chevy? Oh, looks like him. It looks just like him. Back in Notre Dame, too. There was a second one? I had no clue. Well, you learned something new.
They just keep coming. Very cool promo poster. Very cool. Love these 80s girls posters. They're awesome. There's a nice collector's market out there for them. And this one here, 88. Okay, this is everything I'm getting. Went through all of those posters, and this is what I'm getting. So I've got to find a way to organize this so I could bring this up. So what you want to do in this situation to make it easier is just take one poster and just wrap it around the other one. And it'll be much easier to carry it up front. And you'll also get a better deal on pricing because it'll be more difficult to tell how many posters you have exactly. And that's going to work into your favor, trust me. Okay, so I've got them all rolled up here, and I think what I'm going to do is try to get them into this box here so I could just carry it around. The other side is still mostly taped, so it should work. So yeah, this did work out. You can see here, they'll fit in nice, so just use the resources that you see around you. This is what I was talking about earlier. I ran out of power. I'm getting close to it. I'm at like 18% and I don't want to take any chances. So I'm going to hook this up and look through a few more things. I got about 40 minutes left before they close this sale out. Okay, let's look in here. Test it out. All right, I've got the box of posters loaded back here and the 2 boxes. Good thing I took 2. One to carry all that stuff around with and one for all these big books. Let's head back to Primetime Treasure headquarters and talk more about this stuff. Well, I just got back to Primetime Treasure headquarters and I see that Mrs. Primetime has been doing some work today. This is the brown table that you have seen in other videos. She has put some chalk paint on it. That's what this is called. And it's looking pretty nice. I don't want to touch it because you know, it can mess it up, but she's really doing a great job with restoring this furniture and then, you know, flipping it for a high price. So I'll try to remember when she sells this to tell you what it sold for. Looking good. Hey, say hi to all your fans. What are you doing? Stop attacking me. What are you doing? So as a little tip, when you get back and you relax after you're at your sales, what I do suggest doing is going right to your laptop or your computer, wherever you do your inventory, and just document the inventory that you purchased. So you got that in there, and then file away your cash receipt. Make sure you log your miles if you're not doing something like Mile IQ. And also if you picked up any food along the way, like I got some Burger King for lunch, so make sure you put that as a deductible expense under food. And then fight off your Shih Tzu and try to get some listings done. All right, everyone. Well, I am back at Primetime Treasure headquarters. It is Sunday morning. I am all showered, shaved, rested, and fed, and I'm excited to go over some of these items with you. The first ones that I'm going to show you are these that you saw me get towards the beginning. It's this big lot of books. They're oversized ones. They're from 1894. It's called Great Men and Famous Women. There's a few things about this that jumped out to me and made me look into them. Number one is the age of the book. If you open it up, I showed you in the video, these come from 1894. Now, just because it's old does not necessarily mean that it's valuable. There are plenty of old books that are almost worthless, you know, even from the 1800s. So that doesn't necessarily mean something. But it's an indication. Another thing that I look for in these books that help out is if it has some of this you know, gold leaf kind of gilding that's on the side of it. That's something to look for too. Kind of gives you a, you know, a sense that it's something that they, you know, paid more attention to when they put it together, to put some nice craftsmanship into it. And what I mean by craftsmanship is when you look inside, if you see these older books that have these photo plates inside of them, and they are typically protected by this thin little layer of tissue paper right here. So you'll see in the book there's a lot of these, and they just kind of peel open like this to protect the plate of the where the photo's on. And a lot of people love to go back and to look at those older plates with the photos. And you know, there's just a bunch of them that are in here that are protected with the tissue paper. Now, not all of them are protected, but there are a bunch of them that are. I'll show you another example right here, just so you get a sense of it, especially if you're new. Like here's one that has you know, Charlemagne right underneath it, and so you just, you know, peel that open. It's also kind of like a cool way, a fancy way to kind of present it. And this is what I mean by the, you know, the gold on the side, the gold coloring, you know, kind of being an indication that they, you know, treated it a little better in terms of, you know, when they put it together, the craftsmanship involved. So it's kind of a cool, nice and fancy presentation. So what you're looking for, and this is the thing that really, really made me look into this some more, is to find out if the set is complete. You could see on the side, there's all the volume numbers. Now, this series came in a volume of 8. And so the way you're gonna know that, like, do I know that off the top of my head? No. I have to go and I check the comps, and the comps are going to tell you that. In terms of value for this, if all 8 of them are there, which is the case here, maximal value for something like this is about $110. So if that's the case, right, you have to ask yourself, why were they still sitting there the day after the sale started on Friday and was, you know, went on from 8 to 2? Well, a few reasons why it likely happened. Number one is they're heavy, and people tend to try to stay away from heavy things. Now, they're not that bad. I mean, you could see, I am a big guy, but you could see that I could lift them up pretty easily. I'd say they're probably 25 pounds or so, but you know, maybe a little bit more. But you could you know, you could easily ship this out medium mail, so it's not going to be something that's super expensive. And if you could get it cheap and you could sell it for around $100, well, that's totally worth it, right? So the other thing is, I think not everyone goes and checks comps on their phone. And so people may just see these old books and they may just think, I don't know, they're just old books, and not, you know, realize too much about it to pick it up. The other thing is you had to dig through the box a little bit to find out if all of them were there, and there were some other old books that were really damaged and, you know, not worth anything, but this was the gem surrounding all of them. So you just had to go through, and it's like a treasure hunt. You've got to just go pick around the box, see if you could find all of them. Sure enough, they're all there. They're in, as you could tell here, you know, pretty darn good condition for, you know, just sitting there in a box in a barn. And, you know, so picked them up and just, you know, kept them up front in my own box, and just told her to, you know, the estate sale dealer, just to keep an eye on it. She was sitting there all day, and moved on to look at some other items. And so I'm going to show you some of the other items here. These two over here, when you look at it like this, okay, I could totally see why these may have been overlooked and why they were still sitting there. These, at quick glance, just look like your regular run-of-the-mill trick-or-treat bucket. But on the back is an indication that it may be something more than that. And that is that it says McDonald's right there. It has the McDonald's logo. Has it right there. And it has it here as well. Now, what could trip people up in this situation is that, unlike a lot of collectible items, these don't have a year on it. So again, we go back to having to check comps to try to sort this stuff out and figure it out. That's why it's essential that you have a power source with you, and make sure you don't run out of power like I talked about earlier. But these came out, turns out, in 1986. There's a set of 3 of them. There is also a white one. That one I did not see anywhere there. So I don't know, did somebody else get it? Did they never, the person who owned them never pick up the white one? You know, who knows? But all 3 of them together sell for around 50, 60 bucks. You could get around 20 bucks a piece for them. So I'm gonna try to get around $40 for these. So I'll tell you what I paid for everything at the end. This one here is not worth anything. I just picked it up because if you watch my videos, you know I love junky sugary cereal, and I love Fruity Pebbles and comic book characters, including the Justice League characters. So to find them combined on one box was cool for me. So I'm just gonna hold on to it, and you know, I'll just display it or something. And if in the future I find another item that's similar to this, you know, like a Justice League collectible or some kind of, you know, cereal collectible or something like that, I could always include this with it. So it's just kind of one of those throw-in items that I thought was cool, but not anything that has any significant value. These here, I don't do too much with the Playboys, but if I find sealed ones like this, I've sold this 50th anniversary issue before in sealed condition, and you know, you could usually get, like, this is another one here with Marilyn Monroe. For the sealed Playboys like this, if there's something significant with it, like a 50th anniversary or Marilyn Monroe on the cover, you could get anywhere between 10 and 20 bucks out of them. So I advise picking them up and you know, just listing them if you're, you know, not offended by listing that type of stuff. Books, going back to books. This one you saw me pick up right towards the beginning. It might have even been the first item that I picked up there. This is a Confucius book. And if you see anything that's Confucius related and it is in a slip cover like this and there's not any significant damage to it, pick it up or check the comps at least, because chances are you get a little bit out of it. This one would be about a $15 item, so not something you're gonna make a fortune out of, but you know, shipping will be $2.75 on it, and you know, be a nice quick easy flip on that one. This one here, I can't give you a comp on it, but I can tell you that the Schoenfeld racing parts, they do sell very well. So a couple of things I know, even though I can't find an exact comp for it, is that the parts sell well, and number 2, I've had great success selling catalogs, especially older catalogs. People love looking through these old catalogs to get ideas about items and to also get additional details about items that may currently be unavailable to them. So people love picking these up. You know, one like this, again, I don't know, something between, I'd say, the $10 to $20 range for something like that. Okay, so inside of this bag right here, those are all of those vintage brass, bronze drawer pulls that you see here. Really cool. People who do furniture restoration, like Mrs. Primetime, would love something like this. When she saw it, when I brought it home, she thought they were awesome. So when I get the Mrs. Primetime stamp of approval, I know that I did a very good job. So really cool, strong, solid, sturdy craftsmanship and construction. About 40 of them or so are in here. It's, you know, as you can see here, there's a pretty big bag full of them. Comps for something like that would be around $100, so I'd list them for about $99.99 and see what happened with it from there. The next 2 items here are tool related. This is why I always tell people, make sure that you look inside filing cabinets. You never know what you're gonna find in there. This is a wood plane by Stanley. You could see that right over there. It has the Stanley name. Stanley is a great name in tools, so if you see it, look into it. One of the easiest ways to check comps for a wood plane like this is to look on the inside of the Stanley wood plane, and what you're going to see here, and I'm going to wipe away some of the dust, is it's going to say made in England, and it's also going to give you an item number to look up, or a model number. Look that model number up, and you will see that this wood plane goes for around $60. It's in really nice condition. I was impressed by the condition. A lot of times I see wood planes, they're all rusted out and everything, but this is really nice. So I'm very happy about this one. Just have to wipe off the dust and we'll be good to go with that one. There was another wood plane in there, but I did not pick it up. It wasn't made by Stanley, and it had the guy's initials on the side of it, and I don't like picking up items like that where there are initials engraved into them because it's too personalized with somebody else. This one here was really cool. This is the last item you saw me pick up. This is this Craftsman router. So you can see there it's Craftsman, and another clue that it's going to be something that has value to it is it says commercial. So if it's something that's commercial grade, you're going to have contractors looking for it and that sort of thing. Very important is to find out the exact comp for this type of item, and I showed you this recently with another Craftsman item last week at another, or 2 weeks ago, within the last few weeks at another estate sale, is you have to look for this model number right here, and that number is what you have to type in. They almost always start with 315, and then after that you're gonna see there's a decimal point. You have to type that decimal point in to get the proper comp for it. But that router, pre-owned, sells for about $100 as long as it's working. You could see that I tested it in and it was working. So testing items out to find that they're working is very important. That could prevent you from making some some bad purchases. You remember that radio that I was looking into in the beginning? Actually, there were supposed to be 8 D batteries that went into that. So that's why I carry that that adapter, that power adapter with me, because that will plug into many of the electronics, and then you could go test it out. But as you could see, it wasn't working, but it worked out great anyway, because that drew me into that room where all those posters were. And then I just focused on the posters the rest of the day until I exhausted going through all of them. And then I just looked around the rest of the barn to see if there was anything else. So I spent a good 5 hours today in that barn, or yesterday in that barn. So from about 8:30 to 1:30. And that's one of the important keys that I want to pass on to you, is that if you want to be successful doing this whole reselling business and make these really nice scores and find all of these discoveries, you have to have patience. I cannot tell you how many times people walked into that room and said, what's going on here? What is this, posters? And then they looked at it and they said, I don't have the time for this. I don't have the patience for this, and walk right out. Some of the people were resellers. I know that because their phones were chinging while they were in there. And a couple of them looked at a few of the posters, they got fed up, and they just walked out. So with the posters, I know I'm going to get questions. I already have, because I put up a preview video about this on my social media, and people already asked me about the shipping for these and how you ship the posters. I picked these up in bulk on eBay. It's the best place that I found to get these shipping containers. If you go, they're called shipping tubes. If you go into a place like Office Depot, they're going to be pretty expensive. I mean, it's fine if you're just going there for one, but if you're going to pick up a whole bunch of them, the best place, again, I found is eBay, so I'll buy them in bulk that way. And there's different sizes you're going to need, but for your average size poster, you still should be able to ship them out first class this way. There's some that might go over that and go into priority range, but again, that depends on the size of the poster. The reason that I like these is you can see here it has this twist to it, so there's multiple layers. These caps here on the side, they just pop out. Now when I ship them out, I will put a layer of tape on it anyway, because it just prevents people from easily picking off the cap and then grabbing the poster out. But this basically goes around in layers, and it's really strong. So you can see right there, this thing is not going to break. Now you could go out and get one of these more rectangular shaped ones that are sold by the post office. This isn't the exact same one sold by the post office, but it's very similar to it. It's kind of the closest thing I have. I don't use these because for posters, the reason being is that these will crush easily sometimes, depending on how they're handled by the post office employee. And so these are not going to get crushed because of how solid they are. So I would highly suggest the tube as opposed to the box through the post office. Now let me get back to the posters. Posters are great. I make a ton of money selling posters. And the things you're looking for in posters, and what drew me in there was anything that is vintage, anything from the 70s and the 80s, and there was a lot of stuff like that, especially if it's rock and roll or music related. Like some of those Jane's Addiction posters will easily go for around, or should easily go for around $100. There was one there, it was Poodle and Mohawk. Look up the comps for that one. Poodle and Mohawk. That poster has sold 3 times recently for $300, $295 to be exact. But that's just one poster. Those Bruce Springsteen posters, I couldn't even find comps for those, especially that one with all the tour dates on it. If you see anything with concert tour dates on it, be it a poster or a t-shirt, and it's vintage, those will go for huge amounts of money because people often place themselves at one of those concert dates and they like to look back at it, and it gives them nostalgic memories seeing that type of thing. But Bruce Springsteen, by the way, in general, he has a really strong fan base who will spend good money for something Springsteen or E Street Band related that that they don't have. So those items, I mean, some of these posters I may wind up auctioning off. And I want to give a shout out to Carol, who is a big Bruce Springsteen supporter and a member of my Facebook group. So Carol, I know you're looking forward to me putting up those posters, and I'll make sure I let you know when I put them up. And if there's anything that anyone saw here today that they were interested in and wanted me to give priority to listing, please let me know that, and I will do that. So there were other posters in there that were worth a lot of money. There was the Lou Reed one. I remember looking that one up when I was there and seeing that one went for over $100. Some of those vintage Batman ones were awesome. There were the vintage Star Wars ones, the Darth Vader one from 1977. Like I said in the video, don't worry about damage on items like that. Some of them are going to have some discoloration. Some of them are going to have a little bit of a tear here and there. Of course, that does take the value down some, but you're still going to be able to get good money on those because they're just so difficult to find, and they have basically cult-like followings with Star Wars and the Batman 1960s TV show, which I loved as a kid growing up. I mean, there's just so much of that stuff was there. One that I was really excited to see is the Indiana Jones poster, not the one that was promoting the DVD sets that came out. I mean, those were cool, but the one that said Quest for the Best on the bottom, on that one, Indiana Jones is holding a Bud Light. And I cannot find any comps for that thing. And that is awesome because in that situation, you have 2 interest groups that would want to get an item like that. You have Budweiser collectors and you have Indiana Jones collectors. And there are people out there, especially guys, who love both of those things. They love a beer and they love Indiana Jones because he's hardcore. And I just finished watching all the Indiana Jones movies with my son. They're awesome. If you haven't seen them, make sure you go check them out. So the 80s girls posters, I love those posters. I grew up having many of those posters hanging up in my room, and a lot of other guys watching this did as well. And, now you're not going to make a fortune off of those, but, those could sell for around $20, maybe even a little bit more. Sometimes you get like $25, $30 out of them. But, that's just something where someone's going to go and they're kind of window browsing and they come across it. And you never know, someone might come across one and say, oh my God, I had that one when I was younger and now I have a chance to get it back. They threw it out and they want to get it and put it in their exercise room or in their garage or in their man cave or something like that. So that's the kind of market, you're catering towards with those types of items. So if you're a woman and you're watching this, sometimes you have to think like a guy, you have to think like the people who you are marketing towards. And so for me, it's easy, but then when I get into, you know, women's stuff, I have to talk to Mrs. Primetime to try to get into the woman's mindset in terms of, you know, what they're looking for. So you have to try to put yourself in different people's perspectives and positions sometimes to think, why would this be something that is you know, of interest to someone else, even though it may not be interesting to me? So that's something that's very important when you go out sourcing. Don't just look for things that necessarily, you know, you would like or you would use. Like, for example, I don't use a wood plane. I don't really use a router. But I know that there are people out there that love tools and like vintage tools and, you know, and want something like that. Or their router broke. They love that one. They've been using it their whole life. It's a, you know, vintage router, and they want to get another one. So they'll go on eBay, and that's where they're going to find it. So there were movie posters there. I mean, some of them were newer, but they were Star Wars ones, so I picked them up. There were a bunch of other ones that I did not pick up. Either they were, you know, significantly damaged to the point where like they had like a big rip going down such that there's no way it would have sold, or they were like big chunks taken off of the side, or they were just on topics that people weren't really interested in, or on movies that were kind of, you know, boring ones that didn't wind up being popular. So passed up on a lot of those. Okay, so I want to make another point regarding posters, and these are not any of the posters that I found yesterday. I still have those upstairs, but these are just some other posters that I have down here right now. And the thing I want to point out about them is that right here, these are multiple posters that are wrapped around one another. And this is how I found a lot of the posters that I showed you, you know, in that part of the video that I made yesterday. And the thing that I noticed when I was watching other people go through the posters is that if there were multiple posters wrapped around one another, they did not want to unwind them to find the ones that were all the way, you know, down in the bottom or down in the very center here. They basically just took the first one off, looked at it, kind of got overwhelmed, and just moved on. There were some people who just walked into the room, saw the posters, and just said, they just looked at it and said, that's it, I'm just done, I'm getting out of here, because they just didn't even want to take the time to actually unroll it to begin with. So if you want to do good in reselling, it's really important to just put in that extra work. Now, you may be watching this and telling me, you know, I saw how many posters that were there. I would have been completely overwhelmed. And that's understandable. That is an initial reaction that I think almost everyone would have when they look at that, is they would say that it's overwhelming. So how do you handle a situation like that that's overwhelming? Well, you just have to use a very simple strategy that I use called chunking. You have to kind of just visualize what you have in front of you and break it down into different segments. And so you just start working on one segment and you look at all those posters, and then, you know, you take the ones that are good to the side, you take the other ones that you don't want and you put them in another location, and then you just look at the next chunk and you grab that chunk and you start working on it. And that's what I did. I just chunked that whole entire table from left to right, and I just know logically that if there's a finite number of posters there, and there's a lot, yes, but if I break it down into those chunks, I'm eventually going to be able to get through them all. And it was great because I got through every single one of those posters, and there's definitely, I wound up picking up a few $1,000s worth of posters. And then you combine with the other estate sale items that I have here, you know, it was great. It was a great day overall. So last thing I want to address is, because I have posted this on social media, and I've done a video on this before, but it's been a while since I've talked about it, is that some people say, wow, you know, you were lucky, you know, congratulations. And there's no doubt about it. I was lucky. But I always tell people, and it's very important to remember, especially if you're a new reseller, you make your own luck by working hard and by working smart. So there were a lot of other sales that I could have gone to yesterday, but I specifically chose that one for a few reasons. Number one, it was advertised as a picker's estate sale. And I know when I see those two words, especially from this particular estate sale dealer who I have a good relationship with, that's going to most likely be a very good situation for me. because all the items are unmarked, and you just get to grab them, bring them up, and they just price you out at a good rate, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Number two, which gets back to having a good relationship with somebody. I built up over years having a good working relationship with this estate sale dealer, so I know that if I go there, that chances are I'm going to be able to make a good deal. Number three, I had the patience to go through all of these posters and unfurl all of them and look at the ones in the center that people were passing up because they felt too overwhelmed. You've got to be willing to put in the work, put in the time. I carved out from 8 to 2 knowing that I could potentially be there that long, and essentially I pretty much was. So you got to be willing to put in the time, have patience, and then you're going to find these things. I think what probably happened on Friday when they had the sale, I'm sure there were some posters that sold, but people were going in and probably just grabbing surface finds, things on the top that were of value, and taking those out, and leaving this type of stuff that required more investigatory work, just leaving it there. That's the only explanation I could give you for why all those items were still sitting there on Saturday, day after a full sale. And that's just a final lesson for you, is that don't think because you missed the first day of the sale that there's nothing there that's good for you on the second day. It's still worth going and checking out. This is why research and knowledge and educating yourself and studying BOLOs, be on the lookout items, are so important, because that's how you could find the things that everybody else is missing. Okay, in terms of how much I got everything for, there you go. There's the cash receipt. $50 for everything that I got. I folded it over to hide the address of the place, but you can't beat that. And that is the whole advantage of having a great relationship that you build over years with the estate sale dealer. This isn't the one who I go to that I always say, oh, is my number one estate sale dealer, but she is really up there. Like, she's like number 2 for sure. And she does a great job when she does these picker estate clearance. I absolutely love going to those. So always get stuff for a great price. And you might wonder, like, why is she sell it for so cheap? At that point, she doesn't really care. It's the second day of the sale. It's the very end. She just wants someone to take some stuff out. And like she said at the end, she goes, just take the stuff and give me some money. And she was happy with $50. So she's happy. I'm happy. And, I've got a lot of work ahead of me putting this stuff up, but it's going to be fun because when you source it low like that, it's just fun to see the profit roll in. So I hope that this has inspired you to go out, make sure that you keep hunting, and remember to check out estate sales. I know a lot of you watching this haven't checked out estate sales yet. Storage lockers and storage units are a great place to find treasures, but don't forget about those estate sales, because there's plenty of them in there, as you just saw here. So hope you enjoyed the video. If so, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Pass it on to someone else, another reseller who you know hasn't come by yet. Get them to check out the channel and see everything that we've got going on here. If you're brand new, I've got tons of other haul videos just like this one in my playlist. Just go check that out. And I am sure, be showing you in later videos items that sold from this collection today. So excited about that. And make sure you come to the Facebook group, Facebook Reselling Resource Center. The link is down below. Check out me on Instagram. That's @prime_time_treasure. And check out the link for that power source that you could take with you so you don't run out of power when you're checking comps. See you later, everyone. Take care.